Greetings everybody, my name's Tommy the Game Master and welcome to my channel. I know Steam is having their spring sale right now, but I haven't bought any games or really checked it out. The reason why is anything that's on sale really right now during their spring sale is probably going to be on sale during their summer sale a few months from now. And right now, the Wii U and 3DS eShops are closing down and I'd rather spend my money going through games there, figuring out what I think are good sales, and pick them up and just try them out. Now, for those who don't know, next Monday, Nintendo is going to be closing that eShop for the Wii U and 3DS. They have good reasons. Anyone who knows cybersecurity will tell you why Nintendo is probably having to close those. That said, I think they are being very short-sighted, because the way they are handling their eShops is you're just creating vaporware. And I do want to caution Nintendo with their Switch Online shop, if they're not careful on how they dispose it, they're going to be in major doo-doo. The Wii eShop was created back when most people didn't really have broadband all that much, and most people didn't have memory to really think about buying a AAA game. Nowadays, a lot of people do buy their AAA games digitally, and there are a lot more digital-only content. The Wii U was a flop, and the 3DS was only a mild success compared to what the Switch is. So if Nintendo just ditches the Switch's eShop in the next 5 or 6 years, I am going to say the outrage is going to look small compared to what people are feeling with the 3DS eShop. But anyways, I wanted to make a video kind of what to look out for on the Virtual Console, just a few picks. Games that I don't think are going to hit Nintendo Switch Online anytime soon. The way Nintendo has treated their NES and Super Nintendo library when it comes to Switch Online is quite frankly an embarrassment, and you'll understand why as I go through this list. Now, I'm going to avoid games that are on Switch Online, are guaranteed to be on Switch Online probably sometime in the near future, or on collections in the eShop. So no Mario, no Zelda, because those are obviously going to hit the Switch Online. No Castlevania, Contras, or Mega Man, because they are already included in several bundles on the eShop. So I'm not expecting them to ever really hit Switch Online all that much. So these are some games that are going to cost you quite a bit more than what it costs you on the Virtual Console, and I recommend picking up now just to save yourself some money if you have any interest in them. Anyways, I do apologize for this long intro. Let's get started. Let's start with Mighty Final Fight. While the original Final Fight for the SNES may have problems, this mighty-sized game for the NES doesn't. Taking a bit from River City Ransom and the aesthetics, and also throwing in a bit of RPG flair, kind of like River City Ransom, but this one's more direct with EXP. The fighter is solid, it's also kind of cute, and it's a great way of doing an 8-bit version of Final Fight, and it also has a lot more charisma and flair than its Super NES counterpart. To skip it on the Virtual Console, you can shell out an arm, a leg, and your firstborn son on the collector's market, because the NES version goes for an insane price. I'm talking $250 to $300 for just the cartridge. $5 on the Wii U Virtual Console is a freaking steal. The game, unlike its Super Nintendo predecessor, has all 3 characters. Again, that RPG system, so you get to level up as you fight, and a bit more special moves and a bit more personality. I enjoy it more than the original Final Fight. It may not be as big as its Super Nintendo counterpart, but it's worth trying out. And since it's not some cheap game made by Data East, it probably won't be on the eShop anytime soon. Speaking of Final Fight, here's another somewhat rare one, Final Fight 3. While it's no Streets of Rage 2, it is certainly better than the first 2 Final Fight games. Got some good controls, some decent stages, and a lot of additional moves and combos to really make the fighter more complex and enjoyable. I really did enjoy this Final Fight, and I think it's fully worth $8. Worth the $80 or more for an actual Super Nintendo cart and not a bootleg from China? Not really, but $8 is plenty, so you should get it on the Wii U while you can. And again, I'm going to have to ask Nintendo. Games like this would be perfect for the Switch Online. They're not on the eShop. There's not enough demand for them to where Capcom would probably want to create their own collection. It's no Street of Rage 2, like I said, but it's no Brawl Brothers either. This would be a perfect game for the Switch Online. But since it's not some cheap game from Data East, Nintendo doesn't care. Okay, time to discuss Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Yeah, you know why I do get frustrated with all the Data East games on Switch Online? Yes, like I said before, I don't expect Nintendo to put in the AAA big threats like Mega Man X, Chrono Trigger, and Final Fantasy. I don't expect them to hit the online service. Why? Because I expect them to hit the eShop because these games are still worth paying for the most part, and these companies probably want these classics available for everybody on all the consoles to sell, so I'm not expecting them to hit Switch Online anytime soon. However, plenty of great games like this, Super Mario RPG, have yet to hit. So yeah, after going 6 months without a new game only to have another Data East game drop, that's why I'm poking fun of Nintendo and why I'm pissed. Anyways, Super Mario RPG is probably one of my favorite RPGs for the Super Nintendo. While Squaresoft was always trying to make it easy to get into RPG, I have never played Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, but I have seen the reviews to know that I'm not missing much by skipping it. Super Mario RPG, though, I think is the perfect beginner's RPG, and it's one that experts, as long as they know they're not going to get much of a challenge, can enjoy too. There's a bit of an action element. If you press A, Mario will do extra damage. The FP and magic buttons are all kind of the same, so you don't have to worry about who's got what points, making item management easier. There's plenty of freebie items and other things that you can get from enemies that just make this game really easy, but at the same time still super fun. Playing this game, I still press the A button even when I'm playing a traditional Final Fantasy game, just thinking that this will cause my character to get a critical attack and do more damage. This game's fun, the story's really fun. Basically, it does start off like a typical Mario game. Bowser does capture Peach. However, after he rescues Peach, Smithy comes down, destroys something called the Star Road, and sends Bowser, Mario, and Peach flying, and now Mario has to travel across the Mushroom Kingdom. He'll eventually even encounter Bowser and recruit him as an ally to stop Smithy. It's a really fun game for back in the day, and it's one that should have absolutely been on Switch Online. But hey, maybe if, Nintendo partnered with Data East to make this, it would have been on there. Sorry, like I said, kind of tired of the Data East games, Nintendo. By the way, to get an authentic copy of Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars on eBay will cost you about $100. If I had more trust in Nintendo in bringing over third-party games that weren't made by Data East or Natsume, I wouldn't be recommending getting this game now. But this game is awesome. I don't have much praise for the original PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy Tactics. I know it's everybody's favorite jam, I guess, if you're into turn-based strategy RPG. I just don't like the fact of permadeath and how much that can get you stuck grinding. Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, for the most part, removes the permadeath. The story is a bit more lighthearted, but it's still a pretty good coming-of-age story, as well as accepting and coping with who you are. Basically, what happens in this one is you take control of a young boy named Marsh, and yes, that is a boy, but basically, he's not very athletically fit, and his best friend here, this girl, she's got white hair. Their friend Newt, who misses his mother and his father has become a deadbeat since her death, manages to find a magic book. They all read it along with Marche's paralyzed little brother and are transported to Evilise during the night, where Marsh finds out he's now athletic. The girl who gets teased for not having hair color now has actual red locks. Newt has his family back, and Marche's younger brother can walk. However, Marche realizes that this is all false, that this is fantasy, and none of it matters, and fights to get them back to the real world. Again, easy to convince the girl who can just dye her hair to go back to the real world. However, to convince the younger brother who's sickly and paralyzed his whole life to return to that's going to be a bit more tricky. So as Marche deals with his friends, trying to create connections, fighting their armies and stuff, like I said, story comes together. It's really one of the best Final Fantasy stories, even if it's meant for a younger audience. And the combat is great, really fun, really well made, action strategy RPG that makes you think. My only complaint is make sure you use that Wii U quick save when you get towards the end. It is possible to actually get stuck on the final boss, as in you go into the final boss and it won't let you out, and it just happens. My only complaint with this awesome game for the most part. I do hope to review this sometime in the future. Let's talk about Star Tropics 2, Zoda's Revenge. Now, I did say a few Nintendo games would be on this list. Out of all the games on this list, this is probably the one you could skip on the Virtual Console. I do believe it has the highest chance of hitting the Switch Online, and it also doesn't cost you an arm or a leg to get an actual authentic physical version on eBay. This only goes between $20 to $30 for just the cartridge, so you're not going to have to sell your firstborn son in order to get a copy, unlike Mighty Final Fight. The reason why I don't think this has hit the Switch Online, I'll get to that in a moment, but I do believe it's coming soon. Also, I'll get to that in a moment. Mainly, what Star Tropics 2 is about is Mike, the protagonist from the original, is back home. He's helping his uncle who got kidnapped by aliens figure out some alien runes. Mike figures out the puzzle, says the magic words, the book opens, and he's teleported through time, through these different eras that this history book had, and he has to solve puzzles. Again, the gameplay's kind of similar. You kind of got this Dragon Quest overworld view when you're in towns and just walking around, but when you enter caves, it goes into this top-down Zelda dungeon view. It's kind of a really fun experience. It has a really better story than the original one. So why hasn't it hit Switch Online? Why didn't it get included in that NES Mini that was released? I thought it was kind of odd to have the original Star Tropics and not Star Tropics 2 when Zoda's Revenge is a good game. And the reason why, and I didn't play it enough to record this far, if I ever do a full review I will definitely talk about it, but the reason is one of the time hops leaves Mike into the Victorian era, where he lands up on Baker Street, which means he runs into the famous detective Sherlock Holmes. And while Holmes only has 2 parts, that's probably enough anymore for the Doyle estate to have a kit and fit and demand that Nintendo pay him royalties for Sherlock Holmes. And Nintendo says no, probably. Capcom had a similar problem trying to bring their 1800s version of Phoenix Wright to the States, and they had to change that character and ironically use a parody of him that was in the Lupin story. Haven't read the Lupin stories and I haven't played that game yet, but I do have it on Steam, and it is something I'm hoping I have time for this year. But anyways, because Sherlock Holmes is in it, I don't think Nintendo has put it on the Switch Online. There is some good news though. All of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's books are going to hit the public domain this year, which means Sherlock Holmes is going to be 100% in the public domain, which means Nintendo can't put this on the Switch Online and the Doyle estate can't do jack. So I do expect to see this one eventually, but with Nintendo, you never know, because they even shy away from putting their own first-party stuff if they can get something crappy from Data East. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm a little bit tired of Data East games on the Nintendo Switch Online. I think you need to do better. Well, that wraps this up. If you have any suggestions on what Virtual Console games you would like to buy off the eShop before it closes, please leave them down on the comment section below. I do kind of apologize for some of the Data East cracks. It's not that these games are god-awful or terrible, but it's just we have so many games from Capcom and Konami and Squaresoft that Nintendo could be putting on, like the Final Fight series, onto the Switch Online, and yet it seems like the very few games a year that we do get for the base Switch Online is always Data East or some very cheap game that has been lost to time and lost to time for a reason. It's not that it's terrible, it's just that it's forgettable. And if Nintendo really wants to build a robust classic collection with their Switch Online, they have got to be doing better than freaking Data East games every time. If it was a Data East game plus a Capcom game, I'd be forgiving. If it's a Data East plus some Konami gem, I would be more forgiving. But it's 6 months and here's your Data East game that we got for a bargain. Enjoy. Why are you pissed at us? And it just shows you how clueless Nintendo is. Anyways, thank you for listening. Hope you guys have a great day.